Okay, so according to the New York Times book review, Adolf Hitler was 30 years old and he had made no significant mark on the world. Little did anybody know that in a few short years he would become the most infamous figure in history. I will be exploring his childhood, his infamous rise to power, the Holocaust, several failed assassination attempts, and finally his death. Sources include the Encyclopedia Britannica, Kirkus Reviews, New York Times book reviews, David Crew's The Holocaust, and the National Review. So to begin with his childhood, Adolf Hitler was born on the 20th of April, 1889 in Braunau am Inn, which is in Austria. When he was 3 years old, his family then moved to Passau in Germany. His father, Aloysius Hitler, worked in the state customs service, and he died when Hitler was 13 years old. By all accounts, he was a very cruel man, didn't have much to do with his children. His mother, on the other hand, Clara, who was Aloysius's third wife, from all accounts was a very caring, loving woman, and Hitler was devoted to her until her death in 1907 from breast cancer. In school, he was never academically gifted, and he wasn't even considered an average student. And this meant he never got past secondary school. His dream in life was to become an artist, and he pursued this after he finished school, and he moved to Vienna and applied twice to the Vienna Academy of Fine Art, and he was denied twice. This meant that he had no income. He was living on the streets and selling his art for money. In 1914, World War I broke out, and he joined the German army as a private. So his rise to power began after World War I ended in 1919, and he took up political work in Munich. He joined the small German Workers' Party, and after a year, he was promoted to head of propaganda. In this same year, they changed their name to the National Socialist Workers' Party, or more commonly known as the Nazi Party. It was during his work in propaganda that he made his mark. He had a real gift for public speaking, and some people have described it as almost hypnotic. It was during his time in the Nazi Party as well that he first established his view on the Jewish population and his absolute hatred for them. During a mutiny within the Nazi Party, Hitler and a few other people actually resigned. And he only said he would come back if he was named chairman of the party, which they did. So in 1991 he returned, and they granted him executive powers, and he became chairman of the Nazi Party. He continued his public speaking, and this is how he gained support and momentum for the party, and this eventually led to him being voted Chancellor of Germany in 1933. So we move on to the Holocaust. This is probably what he is best known for. So as the German army conquered large portions of Europe, it meant that European Jews came under German control. And in Hitler's opinion, the Jewish people were a deadly threat and had to be exterminated. And in 1939, he made his infamous speech at the German Reichstag, and he basically warned of the forthcoming genocide, his plans to eradicate a whole race of people. The genocide that he did plan didn't just stop at the Jewish people. He also considered anybody who was suffering from a physical or mental condition that was incurable, that they should be euthanized. If they weren't euthanized, then they would be sterilized so that they couldn't pass on their affliction to younger generations. The first mass killing was reported in September 1941. It was done in Babau Yarovin, near Kiev, and apparently the SS killed 33,771 Jewish people. So this leads us on to the assassination attempts. There were several attempts during Hitler's life, about 10 recorded that we know of. They began in 1934, and the last one was in 1944. So the most famous one, does anybody know? There was a movie made about it. Can anyone tell me the movie? Anybody? Tom Cruise? No, so it was a movie called Valkyrie. This is his most common, or not common, it's the most well-known attempt made on his life. It was actually a plot by several of his German officers to kill him by planting a bomb. They would then seize power of the army and hand over that power to the Allies, therefore ending the war. Unfortunately, the bomb didn't kill Hitler. So this is where the plot ended. They were given up by a member of the plot, and they were all eventually assassinated on the 20th of July 1944. This was also the last attempt on Hitler's life, so there weren't any more attempts until his eventual death the next year. This obviously leads us on to the death. So Hitler died on the 30th of April 1945. He was in Berlin and he was surrounded by the Allies. The day before he died, he married his longtime mistress Eva Braun, and together on the 30th they both took cyanide capsules, shot themselves in the head, and according to his wishes they were burnt so the Allies couldn't get a hold of his body. It was written in his will and testament that the German people carry on the extermination of the Jewish people. This was his last and final wish. And to end with today, the statistic, can anybody tell me roughly how many Jewish people were killed during World War II? Yes.
I think 6 million is the normal.
Yeah, around that. So it was estimated between 4.1 and 5.7 million Jews were killed by the Nazi parties. So I'd like to thank you today. So we've discussed his childhood, his rise to power, the Holocaust, assassination attempts, and death. Thank you.